Self-sabotage is way more than just making bad choices. It's about staying in situations that hurt us simply because they're familiar. And for me, it wasn't just about ruining opportunities. It was about choosing comfort over growth, pain over possibility, and stagnation over transformation. I was comfortable in my misery because it's what I knew. And I convinced myself that life was supposed to be hard and draining and miserable, but that's not the case. So I stayed in cycles of pain and anxiety because it was just easier than facing what was unknown to me. I knew I was self-sabotaging, but I didn't know how to stop. And if I'm being honest, I didn't really care to try either because it was just easier to stay stuck. But that mindset was slowly killing me and destroying me and tearing me down. It kept me in a constant cycle of regret and self-hatred and hopelessness, and I didn't realize what it was really doing to me. I was sabotaging my own potential because I was too scared to face my feelings head on. And looking back, I really do see how much I was actually holding myself back from who I could have been and who I am now. I was comfortable in my misery because it was predictable. I knew how to navigate my pain and anxiety. It was familiar to me, and that familiarity and comfort kept me feeling safe in what I was doing. And it made me feel like I didn't deserve any better. I was stuck in a loop of self-hatred and self-destruction because it was just easy. And I was scared of being vulnerable and actually feeling my feelings and having to deal with what I was feeling. So I sabotaged myself over and over again. Self-sabotage became my safety net, my comfort zone, and the truth is nothing grows there. And I was holding myself back from the life that I deserved. I was scared to step into the unknown and to be vulnerable and to face the discomfort of growing. But growth happens outside of your comfort zone. I realized that I had to be willing to get uncomfortable and I had to be willing to change. And so self-sabotage is hard enough on its own, but when you add having a borderline personality disorder to the mix, it can feel almost impossible to break the cycles. Living with BPD means living with intense emotions, impulsivity, and a constant fear of abandonment and feeling like everyone and everything is out against you. I feel everything at 100% all the time, and it's a constant battle between wanting stability and wanting life to feel like chaos is the only constant. So like I said, self-sabotage became my way to cope with the overwhelm of life. I'd ruined friendships before they had the chance to leave me, and I'd push people away just to protect myself from the fear of rejection. I'd act impulsively and make bad choices just to feel in control of something. But here's what I've learned. Self-sabotage will help you feel safe in the moment, but it's not protecting you. It's only prolonging the hurt and keeping you stuck in that cycle of misery. With BPD, the emotions are intense and the impulsivity is real, but it doesn't make me powerless. And I've learned that I can change. So my first step to overcoming this was just being aware of what was going on. I had to learn to recognize my triggers and the moments that would send me spiraling. It could be like a simple text message or even like the tone of something. Like little things would just throw me off and I'd split. So I had to start practicing self-compassion and speaking to me like I was my younger self and like I was my friend, especially and most importantly during the storms that I go through. And it's not easy, and it's some of the hardest things that I have to do on a day-to-day basis, but I am proud of myself every single time that I get through it. I'm constantly battling my old mind, and that also just means I'm resilient and I can do anything I set my mind to. And overcoming self-sabotage isn't about being perfect. Learning to live with the chaos inside and to give yourself grace when you fall, even when it feels impossible. And I'm not cured. I still have healing to do, but I'm choosing to fight every single day to be a better person. And that's all I can really ask for myself. So I want you to know, if you're struggling with self-sabotage, with BPD or without BPD, that you are not alone, and you are so much stronger than you think, and you are worthy of the life you want, no matter how messy the journey may be. I used to drink every single day, smoke weed, vape. I would just numb my pain with any sort of substance I can get my hands on, because in that moment I felt something. Without it, I felt like I didn't feel anything, and I didn't like that. It was just my way to escape reality. I was terrified of my feelings. I was terrified of my thoughts. So I numbed them day after day, year after year. But the more I did that, the more miserable I started becoming. And once I realized that I was just avoiding my emotions, it gave me the chance to acknowledge that I just have to allow myself to feel them. And so recently, the first time I had to face my feelings and my anxieties without using any sort of substance, just raw dogging it, it was really hard. I didn't know if I'd be able to get through it, but I did, and I was so proud of myself for being able to get through it, because I never thought that I'd be able to. And what did I do? I worked out, I focused on my breathing, and I reached out to a friend and I told my mom I'm struggling and this is what I need help with. And like I said, it was hard, but I got through it. It made me realize, like, damn, I could have been doing this the whole time, and I felt so much stronger after. So now that I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't vape, I'm just totally sober. I didn't even realize how clouded my mind was until it wasn't. So I feel like I've woken up and I'm a whole entirely new person. And it really just showed me how much I was sabotaging my happiness and my potential and my growth. And another thing I did to stop self-sabotaging was I quit a toxic job. So self-sabotage doesn't just have to show up in our habits or addictions. It can also show up in environments that we continuously put ourselves in situations we keep putting ourselves in, whether it be, like I said, in a job or a relationship with someone who is always hurting you. They keep us small and feeling like we don't deserve any better because it's what we're allowing ourselves to take in, and we don't realize that. Self-sabotaging. So I stayed in a job with horrible management and just toxic everything because it was familiar and I knew what I'd be getting out of it. I wanted to leave for a long time. I was doing better in so many other ways, and this job was kind of the last thing. And so I went into work, and for what felt like the millionth time, the bathroom wasn't working. It was flooded, and we were expected to just use it that way. And it was so bad, my boss ended up locking us out of the bathroom. So we couldn't even go in, which, like, what? So I quit and I got another job, and honestly, I'm so happy that she locked us out of the bathroom. Otherwise, who knows, I still could have been working in a horrible situation. So I'm making a lot less money now temporarily, but my mental health is so much clearer that if you're work in a toxic work environment or just a toxic situation in general, my advice to you is to get out of it. As hard as it may be, in the long run, it's so worth it, instead of being beaten down by other people. Because I'm not saying you should beat up yourself, but I'm saying if you're gonna be beat up by anyone, it should be you beating yourself up. No one else should be beating you up. So now I'd rather fight for my happiness than stay in the misery that I was in. So honestly, the biggest thing is just choosing self-love over self-destruction. And it sounds way simpler than it is. I know that. Especially when you've spent most of your life tearing yourself down. How would you ever know any different? It'll feel uncomfortable, like you're learning a foreign language, but you'll get there. It's doable. So it felt unnatural, it was uncomfortable, and it almost felt fake at first. I had spent years convincing myself that I wasn't good enough and that I didn't deserve happiness and that I was unworthy of love because I was told that at some point in my life. So when I started this journey, the idea of loving myself really did seem impossible. Self-destruction was familiar, it was what I knew. The impulse to ruin good things before they had the chance to hurt me was hardwired into my brain. And the feeling like I needed to punish myself for not being perfect, which no one is perfect. And I was giving myself impossible standards to live up to. So choosing self-love meant unlearning all those lies I had told to myself. I had to challenge the beliefs that kept me stuck in pain and misery. I had to confront my inner critic that constantly reminded me of my failures, my flaws, and my shortcomings. And let me tell you, it was brutal, it was painful, but it was necessary. I had to learn for myself that I deserve better, and that I am better, that I was worthy of love and happiness and peace, and that I had to learn that my mistakes and my past didn't define me. They didn't have to dictate my future, and that my struggles don't make me weak. It was a long and ongoing process of reprogramming my mind and rewriting the narrative that I have about myself. I had to stop seeing myself as a burden to myself and other people and start seeing myself as a human being who's worthy of love, kindness, and compassion, especially from myself. Like I said, it didn't come naturally to me at first, but I chose to practice it anyways, and I'm continuing that choice. Even when mine was screaming at me to self-destruct, which it does all the time. I want to relapse all of the time, but I stick to the plan. And little by little, the self-love I have for myself began to feel and feels real. And that is such an amazing feeling to have that I wish for everyone watching this video. So I began practicing self-love daily and journaling, and it became a safe space for me. I had to constantly remind myself that I am enough, I am worthy of love, I am growing, I am healing, I am learning, and I am evolving. I also started taking care of my body more. Sometimes as simple as just keeping up with your hygiene can be a big act of self-love. I used to neglect myself, sometimes skipping showers, staying in bed, or forgetting to brush my teeth, and just ignoring my body's needs for a long time. But now I take care of myself. I respect my hair and my skin and my body, and I love it, and I treat it like it's a temple, because it is. Not out of like vanity, but just out of respect for myself and for who I am. And learning to say no was another powerful act of self-love. I used to be a big people pleaser and bend over backwards to make others happy because I was afraid that they'd leave me if I didn't. But I realized that always saying yes to others meant sometimes saying no to myself. So I started setting boundaries and honoring my needs and my energy and my time, and it was liberating. It was terrifying at first, but it was liberating. And I needed to learn to forgive myself for the person that I spent hating for so many years. I had to forgive myself for the pain that I caused myself, and I had to choose to forgive myself for the times I gave up on myself. Because if I didn't do all those things at the time, I wouldn't be the person who I am now. Self-love isn't about being perfect, and choosing self-love over self-destruction isn't a one-time choice. It's a daily choice. It's a multiple times a day choice. And some days, like, I have bad days, and I have to allow myself to cry and feel what I feel on those bad days and choose to fight for something better. So self-love isn't about being perfect or having it all together. It's about being kind to yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you ever truly love anyone else, even if you so badly want to? So every day I'm choosing to fight. Every day I'm choosing to show up for myself, even when it feels uncomfortable. Every day I'm choosing to heal, even when it's painful. And every day I choose to love myself, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm choosing growth over comfort, healing over pain, and love over fear. And it's hard, but every day I can tell you it does get a little bit easier. And every day I get a little bit stronger, and every day I get one step closer to becoming the person I know I'm always meant to be. Self-love isn't a destination, it's a journey, and I'm choosing to walk that path one step at a time. And I would love for you to walk beside me if you're watching this right now still. Self-sabotage isn't a life sentence, even though sometimes it might feel that way. You don't have to stay stuck in cycles of pain. You really don't, but only you are the one who's gonna make that choice to get out of it. I'm not perfect, I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm still struggling, but I choose to show up, and that's what makes the difference. Because at the end of the day, memento mori, one day you will die, and I don't want to waste my life staying stuck. So if this resonated with you at all, let's keep this conversation going. Leave a comment down below, share your story, and let's support each other from breaking free from our self-sabotage. Remember, you are not alone, and you are capable of so much more than you think. Choose growth, choose love, and live fully.